This is Goals with Soul, the podcast for visionary coaches and entrepreneurs, building your business with inspired action. In alignment with your mission and authentic message, so you can create impact for your soul clients and feel lit up every day. I'm your host, Jo Ingram, married mum of 3 daughters from London and a former ad agency director turned business coach and strategist. In Goals with Soul, we blend revenue generation with energetics, marketing strategies with pranic healing, and ambitious business goals with our soul's desires. If you're looking to build your business with less efforting and more ease, this is the podcast for you. Let's dive in. Welcome to Goals with Soul. I'm Joanna Ingram and welcome back. It has been a little while since we last chatted here on the Goals with Soul podcast, and for good reason. I learned, about 2 years ago now, that if something starts to feel like obligation or resentment, it can really affect the frequency with which you transmit your work and, of course, engage with your clients. And as much as I adore my podcast, I found myself getting a little bit in the weeds of actually producing each episode, even with help, and particularly making sure that I'd really recorded what was on my heart with the intros and the outros. So I decided, particularly over the summer, I want to spend time with my family, concentrating on the essential business activities, which of course is serving for me, my existing clients, and just took a bit of a break. And at first I felt all those feels about, what happens if I drop down from, the highlights of 1.5% top rated podcast. And indeed, at the time of recording this, I had dropped down to 2%. It's like, so what? I mean, these are literally vanity metrics. Just like I teach my clients not to really worry about the numbers of people that they're talking to, the numbers of likes, because that doesn't, in fact, it usually doesn't determine how successful your business is for the people that I work with and people in my community. There are going to be others who it's all about the numbers and it's all about, the big milestones they've hit when it comes to the algorithms or whatever. But so much of the premium services that I help my clients with are actually sold to clients who tend to lurk. They're the ones that will follow you, they'll listen in, but they won't necessarily engage. Not always the case, but so many times clients have come into my world seemingly literally out of the blue. And it's out of the blue because I wasn't aware of them, because they're not making comments or, communicating with me until such point that they feel ready to meaningfully engage and discuss what it looks like to work together. So I realized that this podcast is something that I put out through love, not through attachment to any outcomes. And for that reason, I'd left it until this point to feel that energy again and show up with this potency and vibrancy that we all love to transmit in the parts of our business that are going to make the difference and reach the clients that we most want to work with. So I hope that you've had a great few months. I hope that your businesses have flourished. I hope that you've spent time with your family and you've really enjoyed yourself. Over the course of this summer, we didn't get away overseas. However, I did on my own, flew over to New Zealand and went to visit my sister. Now, you may have heard an episode I recorded with her, Sarah Ingram. It's in the last series 5. And she's been going through a really tough ovarian cancer journey. She just had ovarian cancer for the 3rd time, going through chemo for the 3rd time. And I went out to New Zealand for 3 weeks to spend time with her, helping her through chemo, and ultimately just having fun with my sister. She's less than 2 years younger than me. And although when we were growing up, we were kind of scratchy towards each other. You'll hear more about that if you tune into the episode. I'll put it in the show notes so you know what number it is. But these days she really is, pretty much my best friend in the whole world. She gets me, we get each other. And it was magical couple of weeks there in New Zealand. Something funny happened though, get this. So I show up, I've flown 28 hours it takes to get from my home in London. About 32 hours by the time I arrive at Sarah's home in Auckland. And I looked after my hand luggage the whole way. I had my laptop because I was going to do some work. I did do some work and had a couple of client sessions while I was there. I had my iPad, great for movies. I had my medication, HRT, all sorts of things were in my hand luggage. And I cared for it the whole way there. When I arrived in Auckland Airport, they have a system of like shared taxis that will drop a number of people off along the way. They're like minibuses and they have a trailer that's strung to the back. So I put my case in the trailer and the guy says, "Oh, do you want to put your hand luggage into?" And I thought, you know what? Yeah. So I put it in. Anyway, we drop off all the other people and I was the last stop. And when we got to my last stop, there was my sister and my gorgeous nephew, Harrison. And I go to give them a big hug and the guy opens the trailer and there's my main case and my hand luggage is gone. I was like, oh my gosh. It's got all of my valuables in it. And the guy goes, "Oh, no, there was nothing." I'm like, yeah, there's definitely something in there in my hand luggage and now it's gone. Did somebody take it? Was it accidentally taken off when you dropped somebody else off? The guy says, "Oh my goodness, I'll go back and check all the previous stops." And then I had a choice. I've flown all this way to be with my sister. I can either fret about my lost items and my luggage, or I can just get on with the purpose of why I've arrived, which is to feel amazing being with my sister. And I decided on the latter. And she lives by the beach on North Shore in Auckland. It's absolutely gorgeous. She's got this cute dog called Moose, who's got a kind of, he's not a French bulldog, I've forgotten his breed, but he's got that kind of squished up face. He's super cute. So we decided we're just going to take a walk on the beach, even though it was winter in New Zealand, the sun was shining, it was absolutely gorgeous. And I just decided to be. Had a gorgeous first day, managed to put all the stress of losing my luggage out of my mind, went online and reported it to the Auckland police in the online system. So, I could claim on my insurance or whatever would be needed later. And this is the magical part. Suddenly at 6:00, I get a call from Auckland police station. "Hi, we've got your bag." I was like, what? This is crazy. How come you've got my bag? And it transpired that a woman who coincidentally, although maybe there's no coincidence to it, had just got off a flight from London, or maybe she was exactly on my flight, was driving home to her house in Auckland and saw this bag by the side of the road, pulled over, took a look at it, realized that it was valuable and it was somebody's luggage, put it in her bag, in her boot, in her trunk, and decided that she would drop it off at the police station. But because she was so jet lagged, she actually took a bit of a sleep and dropped it off a few hours later. Whereupon the police went through the bag and they found my medication, which had my name on it. They put it through their system, found my police report, gave me a call, and within an hour later, I had retrieved my bag. Beautiful story there of being in alignment with the energy of just things dropping into place, things working out for me. No attachment, just leaning into signs and synchronicities and remembering what my priorities are, right? Doing the things, the reasons you came. The reasons that I came to New Zealand was to spend time with my sister, and nothing was going to stop me enjoying that, even my lost valuables. And in our businesses, what's the reasons we've come, the reasons we do this work? And I know for a fact that you're going to share my point of view on this, which the reasons we come is to really add meaning to our lives and help others find meaning and raise collective consciousness. And the reality is it's being in alignment is what creates that, not being in strife and struggle around all aspects of our business, from marketing to delivery. That's why I'm super excited today that my first episode, my first interview of this new season, season 6, is with the marvelous Juliette Stapleton. Now, she's an online visibility strategist. She's got over 24 years of experience with online visibility, but her passion is with human design too, and realigning marketing with your authentic self. What she does is help her clients find their authentic brand voice, build a strong positioning as an authority in their niche, and attract perfectly aligned clients and opportunities. As you can see, the work that she does and the work that I do is marvelously aligned in this sense. She's internationally recognized. She has a direct, traditional marketing method that focuses on personal self-recognition and self-expression as that key to ideal client attraction. She's also a seasoned podcast host and a passionate speaker, as well as being an Amazon best-selling author featured in Forbes, talking about staying visible in uncertain times. And she was actually one of the first contributors to talk about human design in large media outlets like Entrepreneur, Addicted to Success, and other online publications. She lives in Estonia, and she and I tuned in on European time to talk about alignment, a little bit about human design, which, as you know, is my passion since I learned I'm a rare 5-1 reflector, and basically find ways of being visible and marketing ourselves without feeling icky and feeling in great alignment. I cannot wait to share this with you. Welcome back to Goals with Soul. Please make sure to subscribe so you get every episode of this season downloaded straight away into your favorite podcasting app. We have got a series of amazing interviews and solo episodes to share with you this season. Now let's dive in. Juliette, welcome to Goals with Soul.
Thank you, Joanna. I'm delighted to be here.
I'm so excited because from the minute I read the things that you say in your content, your website, and all your places, I knew that there was an incredible amount of alignment, not just with what I believe and teach, but my audience and the listeners of this show love alignment. And we don't always love marketing, but we're all coaches and we've all got to get new clients, not just because we want the money and the income, which is important, but because it's our purpose and our joy. And it can be so frustrating when we're thwarted from doing what is our innate talent and our unique brilliance because we haven't got the energy to show up in our marketing, or it's just all the advice we're given is just like consistency. And if you're anything like me, burnout quickly follows. So I know that what you have to share on this is deep and profound. But before we dive into that, I'd love to invite you to share a little bit about your background and how you came to the realization that what you teach is necessary for so many of us.
Well, thank you so much. I'm going to give you a very short version because I tend to speak a lot about myself, which I will later mention is actually aligned with my human design, and that's what I'm meant to do. But I'm going to give you a short version. Back in 1996, I bought my first computer and I logged on to the internet. And while the modem was, the long music tone and the modem was like doing its magic, and then I went online. I remember distinctly how I thought, wow, this is something huge. It's going to be so huge part of my life because I don't have to rely on local people in my life to actually see me for who I am. There is a world out there I can reach. And it was a strange intuitive sense. And now I know with my human design, I'm a splenic projector. And this means I am very intuitive and I do see things ahead. So fast forward as the internet progresses, and I clearly saw that I could use that to position myself beyond the geographical location. So whatever I was into in my life, whether I was a singer in a band, then I immigrated and I again needed to create my own from scratch, my own presence and my own profile with other people, with other bands. Then I was doing dressmaking. I had a blog with tutorials. I built a big audience, and I was looking at myself, and every time I was in the zone, I felt like I needed to share this with the world rather than just do it for myself, for my own satisfaction. And so the internet, I've taught myself a lot of things, from building websites to, blogging regularly and sharing and creating tutorials and taking photographs in a certain way. So by 2012, which is already, almost 20 years since the first time, but by 2012, everyone that I was working with started noticing that, hey, Juliette is like really brilliant with Facebook. Facebook then started growing. I was already created pages and started communities. And I started helping local businesses. At that moment, I lived in Ireland, and don't be fooled by my Irish accent. I'm not from Ireland, but it's there. So I was living in rural Ireland in a small place called Gorey in Wexford, and we had we had a good representative of different industries in this community, from fashion industry with go-to boutiques, to a lot of holiday industries and restaurants and loads of different things. So I started helping local businesses. And what I really clearly saw is that the more they bring their personality online, so showing their staff pictures, literally creating relationships with people who are coming to their premises, the more these people return to their premises. So people work with people. It's not about you being the best restaurant in the place. It's you having the best kind of team that people enjoy going to and being looked after and building some micro relationships with your staff. So in 2012, I've set up my first digital marketing agency and started promoting these businesses, and I did try to promote myself as well, but I promoted myself as an agency. And here's the thing, while the businesses I worked with flourished, like you could see Juliette's touch in that place everywhere, right? My own business didn't. I didn't get any new clients just because I was posting on Facebook or blogging. I wasn't really, and I created a lot of insecurity around working with people as well, because local businesses are transactional businesses. If you have a corner shop, it's a transactional business. Somebody walks into the door, they pay the money, and then they leave, and if they never come back, that's okay too, especially when you live in touristic areas. That's okay too. So you're kind of there like, give me money now, and then we will see if you come back or not. But that's not how a lot of industries work. And I saw that what I was doing online was really based around the return, around emotional connection with people, around building these deep relationships with people. By 2017, I had a feeling I had to do something for myself because I've exhausted the amount of industries that were represented. I am lazy. I don't like to travel. I didn't want to commute, 2 hours a day to work with someone weird, So I was thinking there must be better people quality and better clients somewhere out there. And I already was very familiar with Facebook and promoting them. And I thought, what am I missing? Why am I not getting any clients? And then I realized, A, is because I'm looking for the local area. B, is because I'm actually not showing up as Juliette. I'm showing up as this agency. And there is no connection to a person, and people work with people. I myself would go to a coffee shop because there's a specific person who is serving coffee and they're really lovely and we talk. And the moment they leave, that's the moment I might not come back to that coffee shop anymore because it's not about the coffee. So I challenged myself to 30 days consistent live streams in a private group. And after 30 days, I had about 120 people who were pretty much raving fans and followers. And I thought, wow, this is monetizable. I should do this. and I created myself like a coach present. And I was coaching around building successful routines, building connections. It's very quickly turned into talking about Facebook and how to build audiences on Facebook because I was familiar with that. And as I was myself growing, my visibility was growing. So I've been doing a lot of that. And now I'm going to just cut this short. When you start promoting yourself on social media specifically, there is so much that it requires from you in terms of your personally overcoming a lot of hurdles, a lot of insecurities, building your confidence, but it's much easier said than done. So a lot of people in the coaching industry, healing industry, they're coming in to this world of marketing and it pushes their buttons in a very wrong way. So while you're coming to help others, transform lives, make some money out of it because that's what we need to do, but do it with integrity, more aligned. You're actually feeling like you're there standing in the street with a begging hand, posting every day. People are passing by. You're like, please notice me. Please like my post. Please comment. Please become my client. Maybe you can. And that's a horrible, horrible feeling. So I've done that for years. I've done that and I became an expert in organic Facebook marketing, and I've sent friend requests and I've sent messages and I've done a lot of things that actually deep down inside they didn't feel good. I thought about it and I sabotaged myself promoting these programs, say I would fill the program and then the next time I'm stopping, I don't launch it again. Why? Because I felt out of integrity, because some things, even though my clients were getting results, I myself wasn't, and it felt really horrible. So why? The question is why? Why is it working for my client X when it's not working for me? And then in 2020, and I don't even remember how, but there's always the right timing, I discovered human design. I'm a projector in human design. And if you don't know anything about human design, I can basically explain it as it's a personality profiling system, but it's based on your energetics. The map of the energy, consistent fixed energy that you have from birth, and the frequencies you broadcast into the world. It's also a map of the frequencies that you consume from the world and get conditioned from the world. And then you gain your wisdom as you work through your shadows and through your, through becoming wise and not being a victim. And I was a personality test junkie. I always, all my life, wanted to know more about myself, as projectors do generally, as everybody does, but projectors specifically because they're not designed to focus within on themselves. There's another type called generators, manifesting generators, sub part of that. They're the ones here to learn about who they are. And it's funny, ironically, right? We always do the opposite to what we're designed to. So generators are there people pleasing, terribly. Projectors, they're trying to learn about themselves, and we're all in the dark. And I was learning about myself, and I was listening to some audios, from the creator of Human Design System, Rao Uruhu, and I was just getting a permission to be me. It explained so many things. And then suddenly I started getting these aha moments. Why can't I feel good sending 50 friend requests a day? Because my aura is not actually open to others. I am very good at one-on-one, and I feel threatened. I'm also a lone wolf by other elements of my design. I'm a lone wolf. I am not here for teams. I'm not here for groups. I do really well as a leader of a group. But to just come up and make friends with people, that's not what I do in life. So why am I doing this in my business? This is against my nature. And this is why I feel bad doing this. And when you feel bad, your law of attraction, you're just only going to attract more. Feeling bad about this, you're literally broadcasting resistance.
I love how you're talking about this, because there's so many parallels in what you're saying with my own experience. So I also came to human design. I'm not trained in it, but I was really curious about what it could teach me. And I was coming up against a lot of struggles. I was really in burnout. Having come out of 20 years in working in advertising, I was really in my masculine. I was all about action, the doing, the over-efforting, the striving. And I brought that energy into my business when I launched in 2020. And what happened was, unsurprisingly, in that first 6 to 8 months, I completely burned out. I launched 3 programs, a membership, a podcast. I was on every social media channel every single day. You got the picture. I think we call it doing all the things. And
Yeah.
and I felt completely exhausted, but I felt a sense of shame about that, because I should be able to do all these things, because that's how I'd existed, stressed out for so many years in corporate. And then secondly to that, I was trying to deliver all the things to my clients. So I went into general business coaching, and I was trying to deliver the whole spectrum of all those aspects of business coaching. But there was one thing that I was enjoying more than anything else, and that was joining the dots for people's messaging and seeing the things that they couldn't see. But I didn't value that. I was kind of like, well, everyone can do that, can't they? Isn't the value in me teaching them the tech or me showing them something else? And then I got my human design. I'm just curious, can you guess what my human design is from my description of my problems?
No, because I've known that just out of conditioning, we can actually appear as anyone at all. So yes, I'm very curious. What are you?
I'm a 5-1 reflector.
Oh my God. Right. Okay, awesome. 5-1 is my favorite profile. I've written an article about 5-1. I attract so many 5-1s. I'm fascinated with the 5th line. So wow.
And but the reflector piece really floored me. I was like, no, I can't be a reflector. Clearly, nothing about the way I am. I'm action orientated. I make decisions fast. I simply can't be a reflector. And I actually had to sit with it for some time. And 2 really, really important things came out of this that really changed my business and how I interact with my business. First was, I'm not made to work like a generator. I just cannot sustain that level of pounding out the marketing, doing all the things, because it's not what reflectors do. Our energy doesn't work like that. And secondly, the fact that I enjoy the messaging side and have an innate talent for it is in complete alignment with reflectors being a mirror for the community and seeing deeply things that others can't see. And it was that knowledge that gave me the confidence to allow the rest of the business coaching offer to subside and focus on the thing that I'm best at, being really, really specific in it, and actually give myself permission to follow the path that my type, that my human design is meant for. So I just love how you're describing the changes, because literally as you're saying that, I'm like, yes, that makes so much sense.
I want to add something here. First of all, two things I want to add. Number one thing, when you're coming to human design, where originally it was taught by Raoul, who was a 5-1 manifester. And I'm going to say this, and you are an exception because you're working with with messaging, and this is your innate gift. But 99% of 5-1s cannot explain clearly ABCs of their stuff. And so when you're coming to human design, you get so confused by the definitions, the names that he created for different things, so even some wording of what you are and what it is, and it's so confusing, and a lot of people get really appalled and walk away from human design. And I know that those who are meant to come back to it, they always get like a second chance. I didn't experience this, maybe because I am really into 5-1s, and I just have like one of my innate talents is to understand the 5-1s, and that's what I work in my business. There's a lot of 5-1s, and I do messaging as well, help them with their messaging. But the other thing that I want to mention is also, because of this, there are a lot of myths, and this is my pet peeve these days, because last year the Washington Post posted in January 2023, they said enneagrams are out, human design is in. And ever since then, I can see how human design is getting popularized, which means it's going to be what Ra said, don't do it, homogenized. It's going to be putting people in boxes, right, and making them the same, just say for example, by type and by label. Yes, I said to you, I have 5-1s. The labels here are only to indicate certain traits, but no way they're creating rules. Human design is not a rule book, it's an experiment, and it's about your uniqueness. So the point of this experiment is not to follow a rule or do things that are, in quotes, in alignment, because alignment on the human life is impossible, guys. We're conditioned all the time. Society, parents, all that stuff that we soak in. Plus, every week there's planetary transits, and do not underestimate the power of the planetary transits on us. There are people, divorcing and marrying because one week there was an emotional energy that was all theme around, I want this or I don't want this, and then they get divorced, and then Monday comes in, they're like, what? What just happened?
My favorite is the Mercury retrograde. We all talk about that.
Oh my God, yes. Actually, I've learned I've watched them for 15 years now. I've learned to really love them. They give you so much sharpness, mental clarity. So there's ways to work with those things, right? When you're aware. That's why we're gaining awareness. But one of the myths that I really, really detest is that they say we're living in a generator's world. We work like generators. Generators are not designed to go, 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 go. That's what I've learned. They're not. They get so frustrated, tired, and they get stuck. And pure generators get so stuck, they can't get unstuck. And that is really scary, because they assume that just because they're a generator, they should have access to the life force, and they don't have this. And so they get so frustrated and really miserable. But there's the key, everybody needs rest. The world that we're living, it's capitalistic world, go, 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 pressure, 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 industrial revolution, whatever we're in. It's not even about the design. It's just this world that's conditioning us, right? But we have to honor our rest patterns. And for that, it's really good to understand how you are designed. Like, what's your recipe? What are you made of? What is your existential question? Like, if you are a generator, stop worrying about others. Generators bending backwards, to please others. They're always focused on the others because they're so afraid that they're not going to be loved. But the only person that needs to love themselves is them, because they're here to learn who they are. That's the existential question for the generator. When you look at your business and you start asking yourself, who am I in this task? Who am I in this? Say you have a podcast. Who am I as a host of a podcast? Am I vibing? Is it giving me this? Am I in the zone? Is it giving me this energy? That's your life force axis. And your sacral, if you're a generator, I am a projector, you're a reflector. We don't have this kind of indication physical, and for you is at all. At least I have my spleen, but mental projectors, reflectors, they don't even have anything in their body to tell them if it's a yes or no. The generators do. All it takes is to pay attention to the body. So for every one of us, there is a way to understand what's correct or incorrect, not right or wrong, not black and white, but correct or incorrect. It's a sense. And we have, with our human design authority, we have a way to feel this either in our body or in our aura, like for a reflector, when you go through your cycle, this decision-making cycle, you're kind of becoming everyone through that cycle in a way, but you're getting to some clarity. I was married to a reflector for 3 years. When we were very young, and I proposed after 2 weeks, and we went on a flight to register our marriage. His mom was 42. She had a heart attack. When I was 42 several years ago, I realized that, oh my God, that was crazy. I would have a heart attack as well, And she said, no, there's not going to be any weddings. And I said to him, okay, go and withdraw that application. A month later, we were supposed to get married on a Saturday. On a Monday, he said to me, so are we getting married? And he was a reflector, so he waited through this period and had this clarity. And it's interesting that if he did it intuitively somehow, but if we were taught like this from the birth, if we were taught how our body is actually telling us what's correct, sometimes making mistakes, certain mistakes are very correct mistakes for us. Certain things we have to experience, because unless you experience ugly, how do you know how beautiful looks like? So you have to, right? But there's other mistakes that we don't need. They're just, they're just damaging us and creating more trauma. And that's what I really love in human design. You can apply this in your business. And I honestly, I walk my talk. I live human design experiment for the last 2.5 years. What it means, very simple. And I'm not trained in human design, and I refuse to get an analyst certification or anything, because that's not my work. This is not what I do. The only people who need to learn everything about human design are those who want to do readings as a business, as a way of serving the community. Then they need to do everything. Ra himself, the creator of human design system, he said, follow your strategy and authority. I want to add one more thing to it. Understand your profile, because your profile lines give you the key to your brand voice. Because the profile lines, they're the two numbers, and it's basically the position of the sun and the earth in your chart. They're the two ways. One is the personality line, where that's how you perceive yourself. That's where all the insecurities, I call them cockroaches in your head. It's a Russian saying, cockroaches in your head, annoying thoughts, annoying negative thoughts, tiny thoughts, but they stop us from taking action. They live in that domain. To understand what type of cockroaches you have, are they small, are they big, like what shape? Human design actually gives you this indication, so you can deal with them. I followed John Assaraf in the personal development world for a long time. I still love him. And he has a book called Inner Size. In this book, he describes your insecurity as a gorilla in the room of fear. He says you cannot win if you're going to fight the gorilla. Gorilla is stronger. It's going to win. It's going to kill you. So the only thing you can do is allow it to be there. And the more you just allow it to be there and you do your thing, the more you understand that it doesn't attack. It's just there. So the more you work, the less threat it represents. And eventually you can be really at ease with yourself while the gorilla is still in that room. I think that that's what human design, especially with profile lines in personality profile line, that's what it gives you. So I'm a 1-3. 1 is very intellectual, and I don't mean reciting poetry or any kind of, I have such a terrible memory. I would never remember any gates or channels off the top of my head. I have to go and have a look. But I constantly process mentally everything in my life. It goes into me. And then the mental process is looking how solid the foundation is, because it's driven by the insecurity to be safe, to be solid. It goes with anxiety of my body. I need to get the bottom line. Otherwise, I can't. I'm anxious. I have to be self-sufficient. I have to trust that I can step on it. Funny story, when I was 3, my mom brought me to a lake. It was November here in Tallinn, and it was it was started to get cold. We get snow around November. So the lake had 1 millimeter ice. So it looked like the ice, but you wouldn't step on it. And I was just saying, Mom, can I step on it? Can I skate on it? Because I was doing figure skating. And she said, no way. And she walked away. But of course, I need to experience. This is the third line, 1-3. Third line, experience through your own lived experience. And of course, I go and I step on that line, on that ice. And my mom is walking in the opposite direction. If she didn't turn in time, I would have been already dead. But I had to experience this. We have to experience this. This goes through, okay, this is unsafe. This is insecure. Now I know the bottom line. I do not step on the thin ice. You have to, and knowing this about yourself gives you a lot of permission to be you in business, because we're kind of doing this too. We have these thin ice areas where we try and step on because some guru or some coach, not even necessarily guru, it could be just a coach who's charismatic enough that you're really into them. And they can tell you, this is how I do things. You try this, this is the prescription. And you go and you try and do this. And you fall through that thin ice because it's not you. It's not safe for you to do it. It's not your way. And we're here figuring out our way. One of the things that human design really helped me to figure out and let go of was the brand voice, the angles. So as a one line I just mentioned, it's a very intellectual line, but because we're literally in our own heads, we talk about ourselves a lot. Isn't this something that our parents say, stop talking about yourself? You need to pay attention to other people. Like you're a 5-1, you actually also have this one line, but you are much more focused on the other people because that's what line 5 is like a general. It's just like it sees the mess, it can tell people what to do. The first line here is not to tell people what to do. It's here to tell people what it sees. So literally process information and say, well, this is what I see. And it gives you so much inner confidence when you let go of the shame that when you're talking about yourself, you actually are processing, and through story about yourself, you're delivering someone a very, very important and trustworthy piece of information backed by your personal story. And so there is a way that you're delivering information that not only is natural to you, so you're not going to have, it's just going to flow, but it's also working for the other one in a very specific way, like it's meant to be. You are in your role, you're in your karmic role, you're making it about yourself, because for a 1-3, it's karmically, we're here to learn about ourselves. We're not about other people, but the other people are getting this value from you. So you are the value. So many insecurities this realization can take from someone like me, for example. The fact that value is not about giving 5 tips on this or that, and in fact, that marketing for someone like me is totally self-centered. I even have this term in selfish marketing. It's not selfish as egotistic. It's self in all capitals. It's making it about yourself. I have a note here to remind me, because the mind is very noisy. It's always going to be interfering and sabotaging. And I have a note here that says, where are you waiting for external factors? Because that's the moment when you lose your cool. You start focusing on the outside. I'm one of those people, and here's the secret and a disclaimer. Very, very rare people are here to focus on others. You are one of them.
I guess I'm in the right line of work.
Yes, you are, because you're delivering and you're conditioning the world. But most of the profiles are quite introspective. So it's about understanding this. And so it goes against what traditional marketing tells us. It's about, traditional marketing says, really, really learn about your ideal client. My experience says that it'll take you hundreds of clients to really understand who your person is, right? So why don't you focus on really understanding what are you, and also what's convenient to you in your business. Build your business around you and your values. That people say that, but I don't think that anyone understands what it actually means.
I want to back this up actually, Juliette, because what you're saying right here is absolute music to my ears. One of the first things that I tell clients is forget anything that they say, look to your clients first, look within first.
Yes.
Because anything that you build, and I'm sure you've had the same experience. I've worked with clients who might run 6-figure plus businesses, and they totally fall out of love with it. And almost without exception, when you look into the business, what they did was they used their corporate analytical mind, and they found a gap in the market, and they found a need. They created something to match it. They were hardworking, talented, off they went and started making money, but it never felt truth for them. And of course, their content wasn't authentic and it wasn't joyful, and they struggled and worked hard and efforted, and then suddenly come full circle and say, I don't think this is what I'm meant to be doing. I need to evolve. My clients aren't elevated. They're not enthusiastic. They're draining me. And you get all of this coming through, that year, 18 months later, simply because the first thing they did was look externally instead of internally about who they are in their business. So thank you for like speaking that, because not a lot of people see that. And it's like completely, that message is so essential for anybody that's wondering whether they're doing the right thing with the right clients, if they're following their purpose. It's look within, right?
You know what? You're right. And I specifically decided that I don't want to run, for example, a 7-figure business. I don't even want to run a $250,000 business because I am a lone wolf and I value my freedom and flexibility. I want to be able to cancel anything on my plan anytime I want, because my life is more important to me. And I want to be able to honor that. And I want business to serve that rather than me being a slave in my business. But sometimes, occasionally, I get clients who are, in their 7 and 8-figure businesses. And what you just described is exactly that. They come in with very, very good analytical corporate approach. They do all the right things, but right is in quote marks, right? And they get there, but what really drains them is that the quality of people they attract, the fact that within the industry relationships also become very transactional. They're hoping to meet people that are like them, but they're only their friends as long as they're going to like super duper mastermind together, and that's sad. I don't want to be part of that world, so I'm making decisions around me in my business. I want to be working alone. I don't want to have a big team because my design is a lone wolf design. I exist like this. And you know what? This is the funniest thing is in my business, this is not a recipe. Please don't follow it until your business does it for you. But last year, 2023, my husband, my second husband got brain cancer. It was a relapse of his previous cancer. And for 2.5 months, he was sick. And on Paddy's Day, St. Patrick's weekend, he died. So I lost my husband. I couldn't create anything. Then I had to recover. Then I wrote my book, which I started before he got sick. I was focusing on the book. Then my love life somehow started flourishing. And for half a year, I didn't really have my foot on the gas on my business. And I had the best year financially in my business because I did less and I only created when I was lit up. I built the business in a way that it's hassle-free, but it adds quality to the audience, to people who find me, to me, with flexibility. So I was getting clients coming into my business because I made myself discoverable, focused on only sharing when I feel like sharing. So it's backed up, energetically backed up. Because with these businesses we just discussed, and if you have those ambitions, please do. But what happens is that they might be even writing content that sounds good, but it's not coming from the right place, just as you described. It's just a skill of being very motivational, very engaging in your writing, because it's a skill that you can build, right? I know that. But because it's not coming from their core selves, from their purpose, it doesn't satisfy them. It might even work financially, but it doesn't satisfy them. And it causes the burnout, because sooner or later, when you're doing something that's not aligned with your true purpose, you are going to get frustrated, bitter, which causes all the burnout, angry.
Yeah, I mean, it's low vibe frequencies are being generated. And, I just want to say thank you so much for being so vulnerable and sharing your experience with your husband. I'm so sorry to hear that. And I also want to reflect that most people, certainly those people I come across, are living very complex lives. And I think sometimes when we look on Instagram and on social media, we get this idea that everybody is on boats drinking champagne, living this laptop lifestyle, and they don't really have any real worries. The money flows in and the champagne flows. And almost without exception, the people that are in my inner circle, friends and clients alike, are complex, and the 3D world is throwing them contrast all of the time. And some of us have a karma that we have to learn and develop and grow, and it's only these experiences that really offer those opportunities. So I don't regret. I too have had a number of things over which I've shared about in my podcast previously, and I've been stepped away from my business the last 6 months caring for my daughter who hasn't been well. And it's like you get in this place where it's like when I'm only showing up because I'm really, really engaged and really loving what I'm doing, suddenly that high vibe energy is increased. And of course, we're all connected, we're all in the field,
Yes.
and we have the opportunity to do that. But I don't want it to sound simple because I know it isn't. And, you're right here. So I'm going to make sure that I get to ask you the questions that I know I and so many would love to hear about. And that is, of course, visibility and marketing. And, I'm going to be sharing my vulnerable stuff as I've come out of a bit of a hiatus from my business, stepping back into visibility, getting that emotional energy going again. And so many people, might step away for a vacation or just take a break. And getting back into being visible seems to be not just that initial block where people go, I'm scared of being visible, I'm scared of being judged, perfectionism, imposter syndrome, and all of the big bad wolves of mindset limitations. But instead, it's like, well, I thought I did that work. I was live, I was doing stuff, and now I've lost some confidence. How do we, either with our human design or just in response to society and all the pressures, now get visible? What's the key? What do you recommend to your clients, and how have you made it work for you?
Give up. Give up. Here's the thing. When you in your business, you figure out it takes time. Nobody can tell you specifically what's going to work for you, so you will have to try. But there's certain things that you will love doing. I, for example, love writing, and I love doing interviews or hosting interviews. This is some. And even with that, you're right. When we step away from this business, it's a routine, any routine, eating well, exercising. When you step away from it for a while, it's difficult to get right back in.
Ain't that the truth?
So you have to remember that it's not about the business. Number one, that it's normal, and it's kind of like with everything else. So any kind of discipline is on you to get back into it. The second thing is, I think, the concept of neutrality. We're looking for joy. We think that, oh my God, I don't enjoy this anymore. One of the biggest aha moments for me was like, there are things that we enjoy, and then there's also neutral things we need to do. And those are the things that are like a blood line of our business. That, when we're creating something, adding oxygen, so the blood is flowing more. When we're not creating anything, then there's no oxygen, and we get a little bit like this. So some neutral things need to be done. Do not expect joy from your business activities. Try and find joy in some creativity. So creative tasks, create something, but don't create something because you blocked yourself 2 hours on a Monday. When you get lit up, or when you have this idea, get in the zone, like I jump into these rabbit holes. Recently I was into human design, sexuality, and marketing. How can I combine this? Because we get crushes on people that we follow online. So what's in them? Like that, it's almost like a sexual attraction. So when I'm like this, that's when I create. So now looking back, I'm looking at, for example, the most ranking articles on my website that are consistently bringing clients into my business. 2 articles. One I mentioned, it was about 5-1 profile. I don't think I even mentioned marketing. Maybe I do mention marketing because I felt like the need to, but it's not about marketing. It's literally an article where I was so passionate about the 5th line that lives in the projection field, that people project their first hopes, it's always very capable, and then tiny little expectation is not met, and the switch happens, and you're sort of like, oh, I can't even look at you. And this is the drama that's happening around this 5th line. I've had these switches with some people I know online, with some people in my family that I can't now go to family events if they're there. I'm like, oh my God, I'm dead inside. They have nothing to do with it, but I was fascinated. The zone that I was in on this topic made me want to share it. That energy made it magnetic. That energy, yes, of course, I'm also an expert, and I named it and optimized it to be discoverable. But don't we do that with all articles? And yet not every one of them gets, and I get feedback because I monetize my content by bringing people to the next step into my business, which is a paid step, by the way, not a freebie. So a paid step. And then I ask, how do you find me? Because I want to know people who are investing in access to me, what motivated them. And so many people said, I read this article about 5-1, and oh my God, I just felt seen, I felt connected, I felt like you get me, I wanted you to guide me, because you really get this little dynamics and what I'm feeling, even though I don't have a 5th line in my, so this is all my intellectual process, what I see. And the second article that's I'm talking about, guys, I'm talking about 4,000 or 5,000 clicks on each by people on Google, so ranking in the top 5, right? The other one is about connection themes and human design. Yes, niche topic, but I'm getting clients. I'm getting people who invest into a marketing blueprint by design that I do for clients, from finding me, looking for some information, are they matched with their partner well, or something like this. And I am also so into relationships, and that's why I'm into marketing. Marketing is about relationships. That's why I love this. How do we connect? Why did I just pay $2,000 to this coach just to have 15 minutes extra access to her so we can talk about our birthdays in reverse, or like how beautiful her haircut is, and I didn't talk about any strategy? Why did I just pay all this money? Because it's attraction. So what creates it? So I was really into connection chart as well. And guys, human design is in no way a matchmaking tool, because it doesn't matter, but it's just interesting to observe. Not a word about marketing, a lot about my love life, passion project, right? I'm in the zone. And people are reading, then they're going to read what else I have, and they're ordering a paid product from me, because again, the understanding, I'm demonstrating how I think. When you know your brand voice, and my brand voice is 1-3, here's what I see. When you understand what your brand voice angle is, it's first of all easy when you're in the zone to just get back to it. I know what I need to do to get out of a lull. I actually recently also had a bit of a lull. I think the cosmic weather was very, something was brewing. So, there's not much you could give. But there, I just mentioned, I was like, oh, human design, sexuality. Let's have a look at these gates. I'm like, oh my God, I can see this undertone. I can see this. And I started looking at charts, and I can see it's not a main make to break thing, but it's something you can use in your marketing. For example, if your gate behind your sexuality is about cuddles, how do you use that in marketing? You're creating this warm hug-like way that you are, talking to people, I don't know, online. It's about recreating what you have in your marketing. You can do that. You can absolutely do that, but you need to know what it is, right? So I know I didn't give you like a tangible way. How do you restart when you have a lull? Restart by trying to re-engage with your own passion for something. And share while you're in it, not when you already learned everything, or when it's finished, the wave passed. While you're in it, that's when you need to share. Sometimes for some people, depending on their design, it needs to be other people can energize them. So do a Zoom party. That is not a teaching, not a webinar. Create a Zoom party and invite your email list to just join you, to discuss something, do something that re-energizes you from these calls. And then on those calls, there could be a lot of ideas. That in itself could be a springboard to do something else. And also another thing is that we will always have things that will stop us, whether it's a big thing or not. It could be a holiday that you came out of your, just fell off your routine. Or it could be just, a spell of headaches. I had this spell 3 weeks. I had migraines. Something was, the spiritual is growing, but the physical needs to also adjust. And this year, 2024, is such a physical year. So we're going to be sick. Not sick, but the physical will be, the aches and pains and readjustments and things will be revealed. So we have to deal with this neutrally, right? You come back, say, okay, I'm going to restart. I'm going to try and see and re-energize. Maybe I need to read some book or something, I need to dive into something just to re-energize, just find some idea that I can then create content. When you start creating content, in my experience, I can't talk for everybody, but I find that when I create content about something that I'm really into, that's where I feel good. I detach from the expectations, from like instant validation, likes, comments, anything. I just put it out there, because I tell my clients, you're building a castle here. Like I'm building a Juliette's castle, right? With this content, every piece is a brick. Would you be obsessed about like how this brick looks or anything? One brick in a wall of 1,000 bricks? I want to have this huge mansion. So that's what I do. So I put it there, but I make sure that every time I create that, brick, I do it from the energetically backed up place. So I need to re-energize myself. Sometimes it has to do with things in my business. And sometimes, interestingly enough, it doesn't. I just have to do something that I really, really enjoy. And it could be absolutely anything. But if I am in my hyper state in something, I feel like I sometimes can channel it. I know I need to create something. And say, for example, I don't know, I'm going to give you I know I mentioned that my dear husband died, and it was his time, guys. I'm very, very healthy and wise when it comes to this, and I was meant to go through this. But life keeps going on, and the world is spinning. That's one thing I realized. So the world is spinning, and in my life, the world spinned into a romance pretty much after 6 months. And I would experience something in this, and I would be vibing because I can see how the connection happens, or how, I'm analyzing all this, and I'll be straight away using this as a piece of content. It's not related to my business, but it's backed up. I'm hyper. I'm in it, and so I get that to break the resistance to be visible. I know one of the first posts, I had this little lull period, maybe 4 weeks, just nothing was coming up. And then I saw Brad Pitt, and I like Brad Pitt. And I never liked him that much when he was young, because I like the maturity in man. And now I'm vibing. He looks great. He's smart. He's very talented. Unlike a lot of people don't understand him, and I do. And so, I am creating a post on Facebook about Brad Pitt. That aging at 56 to look like this, it takes effort, and and how beautiful it looks, how graceful it looks, and all these things, and this is, for me, this is the standard. So if I say to someone, you're not Brad Pitt, this is a serious statement for me. The amount, I even now get passionate about this. So it's about finding your passion, put it out there. That's how you're going to break the ice. The next post, then you can kind of ease yourself into talking about the business sometimes. Remember also, when we only talk about the business, it's boring. Talk about what your passions are in that moment.
Oh, this is gold, because, we're all kind of taught, anybody that's done their 101 of online Instagrammable marketing is taught, like, what are your pillars and what are the things you're going to talk about? And so often we're just box checking, it's like, oh yeah, talk about some hobby or something I'm doing, or my cats or something, but they're not feeling a deep passion. And then conversely, others have deep passions and are just not sharing it, and are stuck instead in using swipeable Canva files that are just punting their offer out over and over and over. Here's my workshop, here's my course, buy my program, 6-week coaching package, and wondering why people aren't engaging, people aren't interested, because they're not really expressing themselves. So people have nothing really to hook onto there, right?
Exactly. And also, let's not underestimate the power of automation, but doing it right. So when you are lit up, you're creating content that is evergreen. Make sure that you're creating stuff that's not, tied up to one date. If you have something to say, make it work for you over years. This is how my last year was the best year, because over years previously to my husband's death, I actually created really energetically backed up articles. These two that I mentioned, they were written before. And so they keep working for you. So what you do with automation, you can reuse, you can repurpose. You draw on what you've created already, and that takes the foot off your throat. So then when you're stepping out, first of all, the audience doesn't notice that you stepped out. You still have things. You can post the testimonials. You can post your past articles. You can post your past podcast episodes. You don't have to always create unique and new content. That's really important. And that really helps. Now, on top of that, if you sprinkle when you're in the zone, whether it's about business or not, you sprinkle that then creates really, really good presence for you. But it's also then enjoyable, because you're actually sharing something from the heart, and not just, as you said, ticking boxes because, oh yeah, let's talk about that. And you're bored to death with it, really deep down, admit it. And so why do you think your audience will respond?
Yeah, I know there's some great advice there, particularly around this idea that we don't have to recreate something new all of the time. And, I spent 20 years working in media and advertising, and we used to use algorithms to decide what the optimal frequency was. And it was never below 7. And this is for TV, radio, and outdoor poster advertisers, not even on the internet. And yet we, as solopreneurs, as content creators, go to all that effort to create one magnificent Canva piece or a live, and we put it out once, and then feel ashamed that we would put that out again because somebody might have seen it twice. And the newsflash is that people often need to see something more than once. They
Oh, I
learn
read
something
somewhere.
new, right?
Yeah, I actually read, or maybe I heard. I'm very bad at memory is terrible, guys. So
Me too.
so I don't necessarily citations suffer in my when it comes from me. But let's just say, in order for you to notice something, you need to see it 3 times. That's what the research said. Just to notice, to pay attention to it. In order for you to even start making a buying decision or some sort of engage with this product decision, because this came from advertising products, you will need to notice it 9 times, which means that you have to see it 27 times in order for you to even start considering that you might need it. Wow. Mm-hmm. But, we don't need to hustle. We don't need to hustle. And so everything we create can be used and reused and reused. And those are your repetitions. Those are your repetitions. And plus, don't forget that people do need to see credibility markers like testimonials. People forget. They just forget, and then they start posting like 5 days a week testimonials. Then again, they forget. Use automation tools that can repurpose. I use some tools that just on completely. I don't have to even go near them. I just create a category once, and it just reaches out and posts every Monday. One. Say a post about my client's testimonial goes, the other Tuesday some past article goes. I don't need to do this because we are living in a 21st century.
Listeners to this show love their tech, so you have to name drop what tool you're using.
Okay. My favorite one is called Social Bee. Social Bee, because it's not just a scheduler. You can schedule one-off ones, but Social Bee does have these categories. So every time I write a post about human design, what I see or some sort of thing came up to me, then I will go and I have a template already made for a Canva graphic that I will, customize to this post. And then I will create a post with this Canva graphic in Social Bee. I have about 12 or 16 posts at the moment. So every 3 months, it reaches out and serves that post again. 3 months. And it's all buildable. You already probably have loads of posts. Actually, I have an art on my website. I have an overview for this tool. And I even have a walkthrough. I think it's about an hour long to show how it works. Because I really, truly believe that this is a great, great tool. And that's my last year. Social Bee was one of the, big helpers.
Drivers. Yeah,
definitely.
And it's so we often hear this idea that we're supposed to be in feminine flow. We're supposed to be just doing things that inspire us. And that is absolutely true in the moment. But what gets forgotten, it's almost like throwing the baby out with the bathwater, is the importance of that masculine energy in the business, but not coming from us on a daily basis. And it's the automations that can provide that structure that allows the business to operate even when we're in our feminine flow. I like to walk through the woods barefoot, and it's just like,
how you chill. I love this. May I just say something? You're fooling yourself thinking that you can be always in the flow, because alignment, we're looking like, I want to be in alignment. Okay, let's talk about what alignment is. When you're fully in alignment with something, you actually don't have desires, because desires come from not being in alignment and wanting more or wanting better or wanting different. That's misalignment. And it's not a black and white thing. It's a human experience. So you do not need to be always in the flow and the alignment. You will be out of this, what we call flow. Where you need to be in the flow, and I call it in the zone, is to create. You need to create in the flow. But don't expect the flow from ordinary business tasks. Business is nothing to do with alignment or misalignment. It's just material, plain kind of thing. It's like if you need to cook, you're going to chop the onions. There's nothing else. Like, you can't expect them to some magically, dissolve into your pan. You have to chop them. This is a neutral task, even though it's not so neutral because you're crying, but you're going to be chopping them, right? Or you find automation, you'll find something that has a lid on it and you don't cry, but still you're chopping them. So there's some things you don't get emotionally attached to it. You have to remember that business is mostly tasks that you shouldn't get emotionally attached and be neutral about. The more you start thinking about it, the easier it is to understand that you don't need to always look for joy and flow, because that is what's blocking you. Looking for that flow.
And expecting your business to deliver all of that for you. This is one of the biggest things I learned after that big burnout, and I just didn't know what I was going to do. And I realized that I was in a really low frequency of obligation and resentment in my business, way too much. I was working with misaligned clients, delivering things I wasn't aligned to do, working in a misaligned way, and all of those things. And one of the biggest differences that happened for me was actually taking up pottery, stepping out of my business and doing something just for the sheer love, the creativity, because it brought me joy. And interestingly, that raised my vibration in general, which meant that when I came back to my business and I had to do those dull tasks, the onion chopping, I was like, you know what? I don't feel so negative because I've had this great morning and I've created. And actually, I'm going to show you something, Juliette, just because I can. And that was like a year and a half ago. And this is what I'm creating now.
Oh my
And
God.
like last week, I launched my website, Joanna Ingram Ceramics. I don't know if I'm ever going to make any money, and I don't really care, because if somebody wants to own a piece of pottery that I create for the soulful spirit, which is absolutely in alignment with my message and what I do, then I can't wait to get that off in the post just as soon as I've ordered some boxes. And it's like, it's just joy, which means, to your point, when I come back to the onion chopping, the business, it can be neutral, because finding creativity within and outside of the business, because we're a whole person energetically.
Yes,
and I love
it's
how you
nothing
talk
to do
that.
with business. Business is only one of the channels that your personality expresses itself. But you can, as just what you just described. I loved this, and thank you. And for me, last year it was Tinder. And not for some, one night stands. I was looking for people, so connection to people, and Tinder gave me that. So I was on fire, connecting to people, learning about, especially with the human design prism. It was such a delight to look at people from this angle. And that gave me so much creative flow that I could then take some of that and channel it into my business and write things and connect things and do interviews and do them I was lit up. And even though the ignition of that fire, the initially was my love life, it wasn't my business, but I channeled it into my business because the business is part of how I express myself. And there's, as a messaging expert, and listen, this is a skill that you can build over not so long it takes to actually realize that everything is content, and you can talk about absolutely anything and then tie it in with what your expertise is. It's actually a skill that you can build. We're not born with this. So I can do that. I can talk about this glass of water and then start talking about relationships and marketing and start talking about how we relate to it, how, glass half full, half empty. Already I'm coming up. So I can tie these things together. And that's how you take other things and you bring them into your business. That's why I said, if you need to restart, don't look from your business to be lighting you up. Anything will do. Share it through your business.
Now, I'm sure as a result of this conversation and so many brilliant points you made, some people listening, I hope many, will be going, oh, I've got some ideas. I'm feeling really on fire. That's why we tune into podcasts and we watch training videos and we absorb all the books. And I know you've just launched a book and I want to hear more about this. So I always end every single episode with inspired action. What is it that somebody could do today, tomorrow, who really wants to amplify their visibility, get more aligned with their marketing, and perhaps learn a little bit more about how their human design can help them to make it a bit easier and less stressful? What's the best starting point?
Okay, I'm going to give you an exercise that's really, really good. Take an A4 piece of paper or a copy, and on one side, write things that you do not like doing in your business. All that donkey work, all those little, onion chopping, what you don't like doing, what you feel icky doing. Just write this whole list. Then on the other side, write other activities that you love doing. What do you love? Do you have a podcast? Do you like talking to people? Do you like writing? Do you like creating graphics? What is something that you enjoy in your business, right? And first start with negative. It's easier for our brain. So when you have these two lists, have a look at this negative part and see what can you actually, is it absolutely essential that you do that? And don't listen to what some coach said or something. For you, is there a way that you can drop it and not do it? Is there a way that you can let go of a thought that you have to do it consistently? For example, if you have a newsletter, do you know that you don't have to send letters every day? Like, who was it? Who is the ClickFunnels? Russell Brunson?
Yes.
Yeah. He was saying, every day I don't send an email, I lose clients. he has a different business. So
he has a pro-marketing business. That's what pro-marketing is based on FOMO. So
oh yeah, exactly. But it's also different. What he sells is not access to him and transformation. He sells support of tech. Different support than a coach who does, I don't know, some sort of facilitates transformations. So we have to listen to only those people who are doing exactly what we're doing in exactly the same way. And that's where you can get better advice if you have to listen to someone, right? But anyway, newsletters. I don't even send newsletters consistently. I used to be so consistent because you don't have to. Because with my friends, I don't stay in touch, but when I do, we have really deep conversation. And I've employed that in my business. And my business only growing, it's not slowing down because I don't send people emails every week. But that's something that would make me feel like I'm obliged to do that while people are not even opening. Like, another one, because we get bombarded with that stuff. So I would rather send them emails rarer, but I have something to share, like I'm going to be sharing this podcast episode when it comes out, right? So that's where I really have something that I know there's so much value that they can get from what I said, from what you, Joanna, said. That's something that's essential. Everything else is non-essential. So have a look at this negative column and see, is this absolutely essential? Question it. Take your time questioning it and see what you can get rid of. And so you can have more space in your business. Because when you create space, getting rid of things that are, feeling heavy, then a lot of good stuff comes in. And please don't say that, I just don't like showing up on social media, I'm going to scrap that whole thing. Because there is a certain role for social media. And there's, you can't just scrape it just because you don't like showing up there. But how can you show up there without feeling like you're begging in the street? And it's absolutely possible.
And there's a big difference, isn't there, between thinking that you need to dance and lip sync in Reels or on TikTok versus sharing your latest article link to your blog and using it to bring people into your long form content and get deep understanding.
That is true. That is true, because people hear advice like, you need to make short form video content. I am on Reels every day. I go there so my brain relaxes. Every time I see a coach giving me like 3 tips, what do? I swipe. I do not even listen. And so I don't want to be one of those coaches that others swipe by. I don't want to be that face that next, because I did that once, then I see that face and subconsciously my brain says, swipe. It was a waste of time before. And I don't want to do that. So that was my big decision. I do not do Reels. I do not do Instagram hustling every day, because I don't give information. In my business, people come to me. I don't have online courses, so I don't sell information. I have an online training where I show how I use human design in my own marketing to demonstrate, and then you can come, and work with me, and I can do it together with you. But it's that clarity that I don't sell information in my business model determines everything I do. So then I don't need to give information and info graphics on Instagram. I don't need to spend all this time creating these graphics, because frankly, I would rather chill in front of the telly, snack on nuts and watch Netflix.
Yeah, give me both.
That will give me more joy than creating this. So you have to make decisions out of a selfish place. That's what this exercise helps you do. And it's a lovely place because you're actually putting yourself first. So there you go.
And I love that. And actually, I was saying it's going to come full circle to what we spoke about at the very beginning, which is it's very easy to get distracted by all the noise from the gurus, the other coaches, the people who are posting endlessly on Instagram, and we're seeing all their posts. But the truth is that going within and actually finding out what works for us. Yes, using human design. Yes, using our own thoughts, feelings, behaviors to help us find a business and marketing that is supportive of us long-term, sustainably and joyfully. And Juliette, you've shared so much value. If someone wants to learn more about your amazing book, about the little course you mentioned, please let us know where to find you online.
I think actually the best place for you is to go and get a book, but do read it, obviously. But you don't have to read everything, right? Because it is about the different types and different lines. So you can run a free human design chart. If you even put human design free chart, there will be websites that do this chart. So you will know your type, you will know your profile lines. And In the book, you can then just read about yourself. So it's quite readable. It's very fast then to go through that.
And what's the book called?
The book is called On Marketing and Human Design. So you can get yourself like a paperback or hardcover, and it's very affordable. I'm not, doing the book for the money, but it's a really good place to start, especially if you're not very familiar with what it is. The next stage as well, on my website, you can come to julietstapleton.com, and there is a free demonstration, like a mini training. But it's not training, it's just a demonstration of how I personally use human design in my marketing to show you what is important. And I talk through a lot of things because human design is really, really complex system. And honestly, you do not need to learn it. You don't. A lot of people will try and make money to sell you courses and trainings on how to make money by human design. But what they're actually giving you is knowledge about certain gates and certain things, but they're not giving you something that will make a difference in your business. Because those things are irrelevant if you're not following your strategy and authority, the basic two most important things that activate all your gifts, that make you, help you make decisions that are correct decisions for you. So you're going to experience something you need to experience at this stage of your life, business, the journey. And so, yes, so start with the book, come to my website, things accessible from my website because it's my castle.
Juliette, thank you so much for joining us today. I've enjoyed this immensely.
Thank you so much. This was a great conversation. And guys, put yourself first. That's my last thing, because really is you didn't start your business to be a slave to it. So make it work for it by making it an extension of who you are in the world through this business and nothing else.
My thanks again to Juliette. You can find all the links in the show notes, together with a link to my ceramics website, which is a new and burgeoning passion of mine, if you're curious to see what I've been creating. And just to say, welcome back to Goals with Soul. Do make sure that if you haven't already, you hit subscribe so you receive all of my episodes straight into your favorite podcast app. And if you haven't yet left us a review, please head straight into your Apple podcast app and hit 5-star review for us so more people will be served Goals with Soul, so they can tune in to season 6 and hear all of the marvelous interviews that we are sharing with you this season. As I always like to say, have an inspired action week. Take care. Bye now.